here this evening. Are you ready?
Whenever you are.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
See, can you give the prayer?
What's that?
Will you give the prayer?
Sure.
Paul, will you lead us in the pledge?
What's that?
Will you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have somebody to do an invitation?
I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting this evening. Sorry, we're starting a little late. We'd just like to start the meeting with a prayer, and I've asked Gene Garrotti to offer the prayer, and after that, we'll have the pledge of allegiance, and Paul will lead us in that.
Our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this beautiful day and for the wonderful blessings that bestow upon us as a community and as a nation. We're grateful for the community that we have here and for the good people that have moved here to Virgin and give us that rounded, wonderful population here that we have. Father in heaven, we pray that thou wouldst bless us with rain that we stand in such need of, that crops might grow and that we might be replenished in this area during this severe drought. We give thee thanks again for all of our many blessings and ask thy special blessing be upon us in this meeting that we may be able to consider the needs of all in our community. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies,
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Gene, and thank you, Paul. Just an update while I'm sitting here and you're not listening to Mayor Kraus. Mayor Kraus came down with COVID, and she went through the period where you have to stay in your house, and she was tested today as negative, so she's over that. But they advised her to wear a mask, and she didn't want to come in here with a mask on because people have a real problem hearing it when they're watching it on the TV. So she decided to stay home and asked me if I would chair the meeting. One other thing that before we start the meeting, that she asked me to let you know is she had contacted the Utah Department of Transportation and contacted the traffic safety and speed study specialist. And he was supposed to be here tonight, but couldn't make it because of unforeseen things that came up in the meantime. So he's going to be here on July the 13th, and that's at a P&Z meeting. And he's going to talk about what happened in that terrible accident and what caused it and what they're going to be doing to ramify that might not happen again. So just want you to be aware of that. And if you want to attend the P&Z meeting to listen to him, you're welcome. We'd love everyone to come. First thing on the agenda is council comments. Gene, do you have any?
Not much of anything new, really. Sorry, I should have been looking at the agenda. Labrie project is moving forward on its ground. Do what? Oh,
It's not on the agenda.
yeah, it is. It's at number 3.
Number 3. Oh, declaration. Okay. Do you have any conflicts, Gene?
No.
I don't have any conflicts. Do you,
No
Paul?
conflicts.
Okay. We'll continue with your
Okay.
comment.
The Labrie project has broken ground with their first phase, which is just the dirt work, pavement, infrastructure underneath. Nothing more to report on that at this point in time. everybody else is just kind of working along with the heat and the dust and lack of water. Not any other thing, nothing else new other than we've got a few homes going in and some pools, and that's about it for right now. So I don't think I've got anything else.
Paul?
And speaking of water, I attended the Water Conservation District meeting yesterday that Jean was going to make, but of course with her COVID, she couldn't make it. So there was a couple takeaways from that. The first thing, I was just trying to get caught up to speed with what was going on at the meeting. But my two takeaways from the meeting are, one, they're not going to declare a shortage this year. So we don't have to worry about the proportional reduction in water, which how it will affect the town at this point. So they don't feel that that's going to be necessary, which is good. The other takeaway is that Virgin being a small town, we're never, and because of our separate agreement, we're never up on the charts with any of the information as to where Virgin stands in the number of permits and water usage. But we need to start getting involved in that discussion and start sticking our voice into it, because that agreement goes away either after 50 years, and we're already 20 years past, or when we reach the benchmarks. So at some point, we're going to have to live with whatever policies the Water Conservation District comes up with. And so we should have a voice in the development of those policies. And I know that's what the mayor has been trying to do. The second item today we had come in is some new metal picnic tables for the parks. So they're here in time for July 2nd celebration, or July 4th celebration. And instead of having somebody do a 5-finger discount because they were just they were delivered today in the boxes out at the park, I sent out a hue and cry to members of our community in a text. And we had several members just drop everything and come over, and we'll put together all but 2 of the tables. So we had 4 rectangular tables and 4 square tables. The 4 square tables, we were there 5 hours or 4 hours. And the 2 square tables that we put together took 3 times the time to put than it did the other 2. And 2 of the members, I want to thank Darlene Pope and John Ely for showing up on the spur of the moment, and another person that showed up was Steph Smith. So if it wasn't for volunteers in our community, boxes would still be sitting there. And then the third item is I met with Leroy yesterday concerning our capital improvements policy program, and we're moving along, and I'll let Leroy talk about anything else he wants about that program.
We're just about there on a rough draft of a policy, which we hope will be sent to the public for our meeting in July. And then we will take comments from the public in the meeting in July regarding that policy.
Leroy, I'm having trouble hearing you. I wonder if anybody else is.
Yeah. Just a little higher, a little closer than I do.
Okay. Is that better? Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. So anyway, we should have that ready, and it should be sent to the public sometime in July before our council meeting. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it's a policy developed where the town plans in the future for capital improvement needs, and then outlines what they are for the parks and the roads and the water system, so that the public knows what we're going to do in the first year and what we plan to do in the second year, third year, fourth year, and the fifth year. And Paul has spearheaded that, and he's done a wonderful job on the policy. And I've just been there to kind of help him with it, and he's done all the work, and appreciate that. Okay, we have this consent agenda discussion and possible approval of May 2021 checks and invoices. We have any questions? Paul?
No, I submitted my amendments to Darcy and Crystal, and so I would move for approval of the consent agenda and authorize the individuals, if they need to take any action, to take the appropriate action.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Leroy, aye.
Aye.
The second item on the consent agenda is discussion of possible approval of May 25, 2022 town council minutes.
To add to them, so.
You okay, Paul?
What's that? What are we on?
The council minutes now.
Okay. Oh, I thought they were part of the consent agenda. We approved that with the consent agenda.
I was going by item by item. I did
item,
A, so
okay.
now we're doing item B.
All right, I move for the approval of the council minutes as amended.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, now it's open forum, and it's limited to 2 minutes. And if it's okay with everyone here, I'd like to have Bob Kelly come first so that he can go home. He's, as we know, he's medically challenged.
Good evening. My name is Bob Kelly. I've been living here 20 and a half years now. I'm what's called a preparedness nut on the good days. But as a child, I can remember standing knee-deep in flash flood water, pulling rocks out of a storm sewer, while my mother stood in the door and put her hand down and got it wet from the flash flood. Twice as an adult, we've looked up and looked inside the bottom of a tornado funnel valve. While my middle son was on his honeymoon, one of them hit his house. We didn't tell him until we picked him up at the airport. So I've been doing this a long time, and I enjoy it. There's tremendous satisfaction in seeing people become able to help themselves without me. I saw a booklet a couple of weeks ago, about twice this size as this one. Everybody's got one. And it looked pretty good. So I called and asked, are they available? Yes. Are they free? Yes. Can I have 150 of them? Pause. Yes, but you'll have to come and get them. And they put them in a box and put my name on it. And I was to arrange traffic. That was on a Thursday. I got there this morning when a buddy of mine at 8 o'clock said, yeah, Bob, I'll drive you. And we went down to St. George and got them. They were ready for us. This is phenomenal. It's in everyday spoken English. There's no legalese, no mentalese, no policese, no nothing ease. Just English. Common everyday talk. It's simple to use. These two parts constitute one page. And would you hold this for me? Only on page 6. Yeah. Okay, page 6 says extreme weather. This is the before right here. What you do before, so you got less to do after. It also says then during the extreme weather, what you do. And after the emergency, it's 3 short sentences. There's another one here. It's a good example. This is hazardous materials. Most of all, hold on, please. This is, I got it, thank you. I shouldn't have asked. It's got a contents page right up front that makes sense. It tells you what's there and where it is. And nothing in here is more than 2 of these pages. And what they give to people is a sense of security and safety. It also reduces rehab costs and refill and redo and rebuild and unwind and get rid of nervous tension and sicknesses from emergencies that you had to live through without any preparation. This is an answer to a lot of questions. It also leads to more questions, which is what it's supposed to do, I hope. I brought enough here for everybody that's here tonight to go home with 2 of them. And I would like for the town council to consider either mailing them out to the homeowners, or maybe if that's too prohibitive or too intense and complicated, maybe we can get the young teenagers in town to pass them out. We got some sharp kids around here. We really, really do. I've seen them do stuff. They pretend well to be incompetent and lazy, but they're not. They're good at it. Are there any questions about public health emergency system stuff? Yes, go ahead.
No, thank you. This is wonderful. I appreciate all the work you went to get these and
2 phone calls.
two phone calls
Thank
that
you.
none of us thought about. So that's
Thank you.
great, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah. My wife wants her 2 minutes. If I didn't use them all.
I don't know, maybe he did. Anyway.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate what you've done.
Bob's been working in this area for a long time, and he's knowledgeable. So if anybody has questions, I'd recommend him highly. Of course, he's my husband. But on the other hand, this little brochure thing that we got, I hadn't seen it or knew anything about it. So I sat at the kitchen table, and within 5 minutes, I was able to go through every catastrophe there is and what to do about it. And then I realized when I was all done, this thing's made out of water resistant. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. And it's made so it could go in a pocket. So you can keep it handy, put it in your car, put it, I don't know, somewhere. But I would say, hang on to it because it is good. 2 minutes?
Thank you, Kathy.
You're safe.
Is there anyone else? It's open forum.
I'm Jay Lee, and I've lived in Virgin for 77 and a half years. I'm here to give a report on our meeting with the Southwest Mosquito Abatement meeting we had month before last. I wasn't here last month, but anyway, we approved in there the purchase of a new automobile, a new truck for $35,000. Those cost about 32. We added a little bit in there. This is our surveillance report as of May 2022. Seasonal employees, I just hired a new employee. Testing, total vials tested year to date is 34. They have 29 regular traps total and 23 set out every Monday, 6 outlying traps, 2 in New Harmony, 2 in Enterprise, 1 in Hilldale, and 1 in Apple Valley. All of those are set out every week starting by beginning of May. So anyway, they treated larval treatments up to date is 283 compared to last year, 187. Service calls, 6 compared to 9 last year. Hold on a minute, I'll give you some better statistics here. Oh, I guess that's it. Anyway, there's a lot here. Anyway, okay, they have 10 additional bucket traps were built for some of the new trapping spots they've found. Aedes aegypti, an invasive species of mosquito, was found in Springdale last season. The mosquito surveillance techs will continue to monitor the area to make sure they don't reestablish. There were 0 positive West Nile virus and SLE found this season. The Southwest Mosquito ID book is going through further updating as it has been 10 years. or more since any updates have been made. The district is still working with the Dixie State University Museum to collect specimens. The district website is being updated for a better look and to incorporate more transparency. Mosquitoes of Utah book is being updated as well. So anyway, that's basically it. I think that they're doing a great job. One thing that they brought up, and it doesn't really have much to do with the town of Virgin, but there's improvement district, what they call it, where they go in and improve a district that's already been improved. But anyway, they're doing one of these up on the old airport in St. George. And what they do is they have all the entities, taxing entities, donate money to the developer to do a redevelopment up there. Actually, there's no development there, but they went to their meeting last year and found out that they don't have to go along with that. So we voted as a entities, all the towns that were there, to not go into that because they're going to be taking $27,000 out of the mosquito fund for the next 60 years before they give anything back. But every citizen of Virgin pays income taxes to the school district and Washington County and also to the mosquito abatement. But since they've opted out of that, you don't have to worry about their taxes going to that. But I think every member of our community should be concerned that the school district and of course, school district, they run out of money. They just ask state for more money. And the county's all for improving things, development, but they're sending millions of dollars to these developers in tax credits. And I think I don't think it's a good idea, but anyway, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else?
Evening, John Ely. I want to discuss the Labrie project in an abbreviated form. Issues that many in our community, at least in the Desert Gardens area, are quite concerned about. There are many unresolved issues, including the plot plan for this project, and yet they have an excavation permit. 2 CUP permits were issued and signed on March 16th of this year. Both are for the operation of a fuel station, gas station. One identified as a single lot signed by a project manager for Labrie Virgin Commercial Projects Limited. The other identified as 2 lots signed by the property manager of AC Zion Limited, a Delaware company. Both signers are the same person. Both CUPs are for the operation of a fuel station, but the requirements for approval are not the same. One of these CUPs voids the other, but which one? This project, many feel, is being pushed through regardless of the many challenges and unsettled requirements. This project screams to be red flagged, stopped, so we can resolve these issues and then move forward on solid ground. The cabins planned in this development do not belong in this zone. Don't care what they are called. If 1420 West is to be used for access for this development as proposed, it will be constantly congested, even blocked, within the first 75 to 100 feet off of Highway 9. A combination of 3 or 4 vehicles, some with trailers, large RVs, delivery trucks, even semis, is all it would take to block this intersection. A greater effort is needed to convince UDOT, for safety reasons as well as for emergency access, that an entrance to this project is needed halfway between 1420 West and Sheep Ridge Road. That's the abbreviated comments from that letter. Council, thank you. You do have a complete copy.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, my name's Stan Burt, and I just got some real concerns, I guess, as we all do right now with the dry weather and everything that's going on, and that's fire danger. And I know myself, my neighbors, and everybody have been working with BLM and the Water Conservation District and everything else like that to try to hold down on the fires south of town. But if we do get a fire, I'm just kind of wondering, I don't know what we got, but I did have some industrial fire brigade activity or life, and as I gone on. But do we have any means of testing, or do we test fire hydrants in town for flow and for pressure?
The answer to that is yes.
We do. Okay. Is that done on a regular basis? I know that.
They're supposed to be tested once a year. We've had complaints from people when we do test it.
Yeah, I know that causes a problem, but boy, I'd much rather have a little bit of a problem once a year testing rather than, if we did have something going on, having our fire department, which we don't have much here.
Yeah, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but we found that they had not been tested for years. But Gene Garati has started to test them on a regular basis. So we go through each fire hydrant once a year.
Okay. That kind of makes me feel a little bit better because, if we ever get something going on, we come to a hydrant and the hydrant's broken or something going on with it, then we're in real trouble. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your concern.
Just a comment. 2 weeks ago, I noticed water on the road there. I thought, where's this coming from? And I looked and they just checked those just this last month on our street. It just, anyway, so.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go on to item C, discussion and approval of resolution for HTS rental fees for residents. Mayor Kraus always wants to hear comments. She did not put that on the agenda from the public before we discuss it. And I would like to open it up to the public for comments before we discuss it. Okay. No comments?
Yes, sir, comment. I think residents should be paying for the cost of cleanup, cost of any possible water use, and possible electric use, and that's all. This is their town, we're taxed for all this stuff. Make sure the town doesn't lose money on a resident and make money on the tourist business.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Gene?
This includes everything that was discussed, and I believe Mayor Kraus has looked it over and okay with the format.
Paul?
I thought about a potential amendment concerning, because we had a discussion about if somebody's going to take advantage of the free use or the reduced fees and tie up the rental for using it all the time, And so it's a debating of whether to add some language or not. I think what's the best thing is just to monitor it. And then if it becomes a problem, then we can address it at that time. Other than that, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I move to approve resolution R 2022-H.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Gene?
Aye.
Leroy, aye. Okay, we'll move on to item D, review with possible approval of Virgin Town fraud risk assessment policy. And that's open for the public comments before we discuss it. Okay, this risk assessment is basically a state form where we go through and assess the risk of anyone embezzling funds from the town. And if you look at that risk assessment, we are at a very low because of the way the funds are organized and watched and taken care of. And most of it has to do that years ago, the town hired a CPA to actually do the monitoring of that. And then it's also monitored by the treasurer and by the mayor and by one other council member who happens to be Gene Grotti. Okay. No comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion then.
Just for clarification before I make the motion, this was brought so the community could take a look at it. It really didn't require any type of approval because the mayor could do it, but it was brought forward because I think the mayor and Leroy wanted the community to know where we stood on the fraud risk assessment. And there's one or two items in there that I think we can even improve on next year. But I will move that we authorize the appropriate person to certify the fraud risk assessment.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Gene?
Aye.
Leroy, aye. We'll move on to item E, presentation and discussion of potential gate for Rio Design community. And we've asked the community president of the HOA wants to make a presentation to the town.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to come and present. Rio de Sion is growing quickly. We expect, oh, I'm sorry, Lauren Campbell. Thank you. And I live at 529 East Entrada Drive. Rio de Sion is experiencing a lot of growth, but we're also right next to the BLM access to the huge BLM area, which is a great asset in our community. And we have a lot of construction traffic that absolutely flies down Entrada Drive. When you see a cement mixer come through at 50 miles an hour, there's not much, it doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy when the neighbor across the street has kids out playing. We need to slow down the traffic. And while living in Virgin is a very secure environment, our fear is that at some point, contractors or homeowners won't be able to leave their products outside, and there will be some risk for drive-through traffic picking up and stealing stuff. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to put a controlled access gate at the entry to our community. The fire department has already approved it. You can flip forward a couple slides here. It would enhance security within the community, would control the speed of the traffic. And the other thing with BLM access is people are always driving through our community looking for a way to get to the river. They're always driving through there. We just want to slow down that traffic. Go ahead and flip to the next slide. This is what we're proposing. It would be in the middle of the island that's already established there, between the ruined structure on the right-hand side, on the north side, and the office building on the left. And it would be made out of steel and pickets, steel pickets. The side sections, we made a modification of that. We don't want to restrict pedestrian traffic. We only want to restrict vehicle traffic. So the sides would be split rail fences. So pedestrians would be able to go through without any hindrance. I want to go ahead and flip to the next slide there. Hurricane Fire Department has already approved the installation. Access control would be through several different methods. It's a modern system. So the residents have RFID tags that would be on their headlights. They would have an access code that people could use. The resident can also open the gate from their phones. The fire department approved Knox boxes for emergency access. And then they will have a battery backup system so that if there's a power outage, the gates will just open and stay open till the power is restored. Rio de Sion is agreeable to working on any kind of agreement with the town to take over ownership of the streets, to maintain them, or we'd love to just leave the streets with the town. But we're open to that suggestion. The homeowners association, 90% of the homeowners approved this proposal to move ahead with it. So what we would like to get is an approval from the town council to move ahead with discussions with the town attorney to see what the details would be on taking over the streets or how we do that.
Okay.
Questions?
Where's it located?
Okay, so this is a aerial view. So are you familiar with Entrada Drive? So when you go over the bridge, turn right, go to the end, and this is the entry area where the association office is there on the left bottom, and the ruined structure is on the right, and it would be right smack in the middle of that island that's already there.
Okay, so the mayor's house, just that side of it?
Yeah, you can see her,
Far right corner.
that driveway that you see there to the right is actually into the mayor's.
So
That's her
where
back.
that-
Yeah.
I don't be looking.
Yeah, and the BLM access is actually just a little bit further to the east.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of room for people to turn around without going into the mayor's property, because that was one of the concerns that I talked to her about was, will people turn around in her driveway? And that does not appear to be a problem with this design. The fire department at one time had some extra stipulations because the street network wasn't done in the community and they couldn't turn around the fire trucks. But now that all the streets are done, they don't have any concern at all.
So I'll give you a couple things that I've looked at.
Yeah.
And you should know I have no skin in the game. I don't live there. So if that's
Yeah.
what the community wants and that's what all the homeowners decide, that's fine. But I spoke to the attorney a little bit because I wanted to understand some of the, I guess, concerns that a town has to go through when they relinquish streets and all that. He said, and I wish he was here because I cannot for the life of me remember it. It's an IFA study, an independent something study. He suggested, and if you want to talk with Heath about this, he can direct you on that. But he suggested that you get this study done. What it will do is it will look at your HOA fees and other income that your HOA does over a 10, 20-year period to determine what kind of cost your residents are going to be incurring for streets in the future.
Okay.
And then he said, if you get that study, and then the town would probably have you do some sort of it goes out to every property owner, not homeowner, but property owner, for them to review, to have a say in it. And the concern is that he suggests, he goes, just as a hypothetical, let's say you have somebody in there that owns 5 or 6 lots, but they're not building on them. They're still responsible for those street payments. So they need to have that. They need to be aware that, hey, you may have your HOA fees go up $2,000 or $3,000 a month in the future. It just lets everybody know what's going on. So he said that study would be the first thing. The only other thing I have from the town that I think all the council members need to determine is The way that subdivision was designed was specifically to one day have a bridge access to the street up here that Jay lives on. I can't remember the name of that street, but they were, at one point, they were going to run a bridge across that. So if the town wants to abandon the streets, they're going to be abandoning that project, future project as well, which again, no skin in the game, but I think everybody should be informed as far as the town, whether we're going to want to have that in the future or not.
Okay. I think the IFA study might be like a reserve study. Is that,
Something like, I don't know, he
okay,
had a name for it and I don't know.
okay,
I've never done one, so.
all right.
But he suggested that you do that. That keeps all property owners, they know exactly what their costs are going to be for it. And then they can put their comments to whatever your mechanism is within your HOA
Okay.
and how you take comments and vote
All
and
right.
everything. So,
Very good.
am I missing anything? I talked to Leroy a little bit about, what I talked with the attorney on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
I
it.
see, Lauren, that's probably one thing the town would require to have done at your expense or HOA's expense.
At the IFA study? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we expect that because that's actually a Utah law that HOAs are supposed to have reserve studies.
That's what it is.
And
That's what it is.
that's on our agenda anyway, so it's not a big deal because we don't have any expenses. The streets would be the only thing. So we can get a hold of that company and have them do that.
It just gives everybody an idea what kind of
Yeah.
cost you're going to be looking at to repair them in the future. So,
Would it be advisable for me to talk to the attorney and make
yeah,
sure
yeah,
that we get the
absolutely.
same
You can
thing?
reach out to Heath anytime. And
If
I would.
If I can get that from you later.
Yeah.
That'd be
Or
great.
from Crystal, she probably has better luck getting hold of him than anybody.
Crystal, can you give Lauren that information at the end of the meeting?
Look,
That'd be great.
Lauren?
Yeah.
When you said there was 90% approval, was that 100% participation?
No.
So out of that, how much of the participation was it?
We had about 40 members. No, we had about 40 people. So that was probably about 25 homes, 25 property owners. And like somebody said, some lot owners own 5 lots. So, it's,
Yeah, and we can't take action on this tonight, so what I'd be interested in knowing is what that breakdown is.
okay.
Because it's easy to say 90% of the community wants this, and you got to figure out what that 90% means.
Yeah, our proposal was to go back to the HOA again. The board can actually approve it without member approval.
I know
But
that,
We don't want to do that.
but from a standpoint as council members are looking after the whole community, that's
Okay.
what they want to look at. And really throw me a kind of a curveball because in my campaign and everything, I support neighborhoods and I strongly support them. I'm a little concerned about creating a gated community in the town and what that would lead to. So the other discussion that we'll have to have up here is if, one, do we allow gated communities? And under what conditions do we allow gated communities? And it may require going to the planning board and creating regulations to the land use as to where gated communities are allowed and what the conditions are going to be. I know West Jordan has some regulations in place under their land use. I don't know, I haven't looked at other towns.
Okay.
The other concern I have is I'd want to make sure with the water, if we have any water lines in there, I assume we're good, I assume the mechanism would be is we would get easements with respect to the water lines. But that's something we would have to look into.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Those are
storm
things
drainage
that-
also. I think they have some
Right.
storm drainage out there, so we'd have to
You'd have
develop
to have
easements
easements
on
for any
that.
of the town infrastructure, but that's something to talk to the attorney about and see what's involved with that. There's
Okay.
one other thing that you should know though too, because it's kind of it's a garbage edge sword, unfortunately, and it falls in behalf of the town. But when the streets were built in Rio de Zion, they were not built to a specific standard, the town standard. The town accepted the streets with the standard that they were. If the homeowners association takes those streets back and then in the future wants to give them back, you'll be required to bring them up to whatever the current standard is before the town will take them back. So that's something to consider.
Oh, before
So
they would
where
take
they're
them
only
back again.
30 feet wide or, whatever,
Okay.
if they don't have the thick enough cement or
Okay,
pavement, then, because we're pretty close to adopting standards. And whatever that standard is, when somebody, like a subdivision hands their streets over
Right.
to town, they'll have to meet that standard or we don't accept them. So just know that for future. I mean, that could be 20, 30 years down the road or maybe never, but
yeah,
something that your homeowners should know.
understand.
And then Lauren,
Yeah,
is it the traffic that's driving the gate?
it's really traffic.
So a different alternative, because the gated community does change the fabric of the whole community. I mean, that's one of there are some advantages to gated communities for the people that live in there, but for the community as a whole, the town as a whole, it takes away the sense of the community of the town. It affects the fabric of the community, which is a concern that I would have. It may be better there's a difference between an established subdivision doing it versus a new subdivision. So what you may want to explore is traffic calming devices. Because, for example, we're having a charrette in 2 weeks with Pocketville residents that have the same problem that you just mentioned today, speeding traffic,
Yeah.
big trucks going through, kids playing out there, and it's non-residents. The same thing that you mentioned
Yeah.
is what I heard. And maybe the solution isn't creating that gated community where then you take over the roads, which I think is the concern I was hearing, is maybe what we do is see how successful we are with what we do with Pocketville Road, and then maybe have a charrette or something with your neighborhood, and see if we can brainstorm with some traffic solutions. Now that kind of ties in with the CIP that Leroy and I are working on, and then we can get those improvements scheduled on our CIP for traffic calming. There's different traffic calming devices you can utilize to help slow that traffic down
Okay,
on it.
all right.
Um,
Well, what I hope to get tonight is a direction that
Yeah.
we need to proceed. So
and-
I think I've got that. So,
Okay, so the first thing is to talk to the attorney.
Yeah.
About the study and then about the other items we brought up.
okay,
Okay.
very good.
And then probably, get everything together and maybe come back, talk to the mayor, and we'll get it back on the agenda for discussion, because it may have to be a referral to the planning board if that's the way you want to proceed. I have some reservations. I'd almost prefer to do the traffic calming for you, but you need to decide as a subdivision if that's the way you want to go or not either also.
Well, I have a question about that. So if we did a traffic calming, would that be further up in Entrada, or would it be like at the same location?
There's so many different traffic calming devices out there. I mean, there are speed bumps you could utilize to slow traffic down. There's the one that I would love to see going by Desert Gardens, but you have to deal with the state, is a traffic circle. And that would slow people coming down on SR9 and allow access out of the subdivision. So there are several of them, and it really is up to kind of the imagination of the neighborhood with exploring all those options.
Okay,
And off the top of my head, those are the two I thought of, but there's many
Okay.
more than what I mentioned. Speed humps, different ways that maybe we can address those issues.
I'm just trying to get clarification. Are you talking about the calming devices being east of this or at that?
Wherever they would be needed.
Okay.
I don't know enough about your situation as to, that's the same thing we have an issue in Pocketville Road is they would like the roads closed off. If they had a choice, they would do the same thing that you're proposing, is put gates on both ends. That's what they would love to do. And then we're having talks about maybe do they close off one end, or do we do a speed hump or a speed
Okay.
bump? And then the question is where do we put them? So those are the things that still need to be discussed.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, that's why you have a charrette, is to explore all those options. And then, and a lot of that will depend on engineering and what type of traffic studies they would want to warrant those items.
Okay.
I think you'll also want to talk to, you've got 2 subdivisions being proposed currently right outside of your subdivision. It'd be good to work with those landowners to see if it's something that they would be willing to, be a part of.
Okay. All right.
It's a thought anyway.
Okay.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
Lorna, if it's okay with you, I'll ask Dan to put in the little device we have that tells them what the speed limit is and what they're going.
Yeah, Barney helped for a little while, but
Yeah.
the contractors only works the
Yeah,
first day.
The biggest
And after
problem
that,
I
they-
see living there is not the people going through to look, it's the contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contractors,
And they're late for work and they're going down
Yeah.
the road
they fly.
50 miles an hour.
And maybe that's where we get the sheriff to do some enforcement, because that will slow them down.
Yeah, they could probably write a lot of tickets in the early in the morning.
Maybe I'll ask the mayor tomorrow, maybe she contact the sheriff to
Okay.
maybe sit there for a day or something.
When I was a kid up in Northern California, the ranch that we lived on had another ranch past us. And in the spring and the fall, they'd bring in the semis to haul cattle. And the first day them guys fly through there, my grandma would say, go out and dig a hole that deep all the way across the road. And the first truck would hit it, and suddenly the rest of them slowed down coming by houses. So a speed bump's not a bad idea. I mean,
Yeah,
they'll hit it once and then they figure it out. So
yeah. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Lauren, real quick, I'll reach out to Officer Eagle. He's been patrolling this area quite heavily,
Okay.
and I'll send him down.
All right. Very good. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item is item F, discussion and need for a resolution addressing construction meters, increase the deposit, set time limits, set limits on use to be within town limit, and so forth. I think we all have a copy of what's being charged in the different towns. Tokerville has a $1,250 deposit, Springdale $2,000, Laverton $1,000, Hurricane doesn't show anything, Washington $1,500, and St. George $2,000.
we've had substantial problems with our water meters. Most of these meters go out to construction sites, whether it's residential or commercial, and they're being hooked up to the fire hydrant to monitor how much water they're pulling so that when the town gets charged, we can, put those charges onto them. The problem is a lot of these guys will start a project, but they're working 7 or 8 other projects. And as Crystal calls around to get the monthly readings, they don't respond. Or we find out that, like we did this last week, that one of our meters is clear down at the Grand Canyon. And what the heck it's doing down there, we have no idea. But in order to put more of a heavier weight on this, I think we probably want to look at increasing the deposit on it so that it covers the cost. And then if they don't show up with them when we're calling for them, they're going to own it. That would be my suggestion, but I think there needs to be some stiffer penalty because they're not reporting on a weekly basis like they're supposed to with the numbers, which we're required to collect. And then like this guy or they just disappear with them. And $1,000 doesn't cover the cost of a $2,500 meter. So
I've got 35 years in commercial property management, including the money. If the town would get probably $20, a see-through lock that goes on the fire hydrant and the meter. They can't take it off, only the owner can take it off, and that's the town. And if the town goes by once a week and reads the meter and drops it down, they're not gonna keep it. And their lease has to say that they are liable for any damage that comes to it, period. There's no exceptions. If it's broke, they just bought it. It's that simple. I suggest that the town look at the average length of time a good client uses one of the town meters. And that is the rental period. There's let's say that the total rent's gonna be $1,000. First day's rent's $1,000. then it's $100 a day for the next 8 or 9 days. And so on. It has to be legitimate, fair both ways, and you gotta figure the bad guys hiding there. Wait. So you gotta have some rules about that bad guy. And you explain the bad guy rules to the good guy, and the good guy gonna help you. The bad guy will go somewhere else. Up front, you tell them up front how it works. We win. You don't get fined, you don't get your business done, it's supposed to be reasonable, but we win here. And that's not gonna happen, go somewhere else and rent one. But you need to have a weekly inspection of the meter, and it has to be safeguarded, so it can't be stolen or damaged. And that's not expensive, it isn't. And they can pay for the inspector time every week, about an hour. Get there, mileage and so on, read the meter, inform them what it is on the way out, come back and record it, and so on. It's a process. If we keep it simple and public, it'll work really well. They'll know it's business in a good way. And we should guarantee if something goes wrong with the meter, we're bringing one the next hour the office is open. And keep your word. Take care of them. But get paid for it. And no work, we did it. On our street, we did it. There were no houses between, from Patty Lewis on down on our side, and none on the other side. We need to have a fire hydrant. Fire hydrant costs $2,000 in advance up front. The next 3 houses that were built, I got $500 each. Because that was 1/4, because that fire hydrant covered 4 properties. Whoever was first was gonna pay for all of it and they get money back. And that worked really well. That can work. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
So Darlene Pope, I know we had a discussion a few months ago about purchasing meters that were, you could trace did we get those? Or did we decide not to get those?
So it was approved by the council to get the meters. We, as far as our process goes right now is, thanks to COVID has ran up the prices with everything. So a meter, our normal standard meter used to cost $750, now costs $1,900. They're hard to come by, so people take these meters instead of just for a month. They have them for 8 months to a year, if they're lucky and beg to have them back. So this has been our issue and our problem because the contractors know that they have one project after another. So looking into these and calling these other towns and cities, they use a very color-coded kind of thing to know that, although Laverkin and Washington were unaware that they were both red, and so Springdale and Hurricane were also unaware that they were both red too. Until they talked to me. However, they would see a different color on a meter and they would go confiscate that because they knew that that was not their meter. Springdale and St. George have both upgraded their meters to the more higher tech meters where they can trace them, where they can do electronic reads on them. Springdale has the locks where they put it on the hydrant and they take it off the hydrant. The contractor does not touch it at all, as far as removing and unremoving. So they know exactly where their meters are at all times. And that is an option that we can do as well. We can put GPS trackers on them. St. George has the GPS on theirs. That's why their deposits are more, because those meters are a lot more money. We did talk 2 months ago, I believe so, and you guys did pass for us to push or buy 10 meters, new meters with the upgraded. This is just a discussion because we need to have a resolution. We can pass it, we can buy the meters, it's in the budget, we just need to have a resolution. So that's why this has been brought forth to our meeting, so you guys can discuss on it and have a resolution. We need to discuss a color that we would like the meters before I order them, because they will make the meters whatever color we like.
I thought we talked about hot pink last time.
The only issue with hot pink is hot pink will fade and go look to red. So orange is a good option. No one has orange.
On that, the locking of the meters, I don't, it has its place for sure when you have a single contractor that's building. But what we've got in our town is sometimes you have a contractor that's working on 4 or 5 houses throughout the town, and it's too expensive to give him a meter for every single project. So we let them share the meter between their projects. So I'm not so sure about the locking. And it might work in some cases, but I don't think it's going to work on all of them. But my main thing is I think we need to have a high enough deposit that it pays for the meter in the event that they decide to take it.
And Crystal, I know one of the issues too is, do we have them sign an agreement when they come in? And they're supposed to report that. So part of the enforcement is if they don't report it, we go grab the meter.
Right, and so we go grab the meter, meaning I drove around this town, I went to contractors, I went to sites, I've been.
Where's the meter?
This is how I found out that one of our meters is down by the Grand Canyon.
And hopefully with a tracking device on it, that will solve that with the newer meters, but it won't with the older.
Right.
But
I didn't
But if you
tracking
put-
GPS on the old meters as well, but I'm just saying, we need to get a resolution so we can.
yeah,
We already approved it to buy it.
I just think if you do your deposit in such a way,
I
you don't
agree.
report your numbers, we've called and asked for that meter to be read and you haven't brought it in, you get 1 warning or 2 warnings or whatever, and then you bought the meter. So then we don't care what you do other than you got to bring it back, or I don't know, or we cut you off.
I agree with that.
Having a deposit for the meter, because those meters are gonna be very pricey, close to $2,000. But we need to have water usage. I mean, I have meters that have used 1 million gallons of water. 1 meter. However, we need to have a cap. So if they bring that meter back to me and it's destroyed and I can't even read it,
Then we set an
or
amount.
they ran it backwards the numbers, so they don't get charged for the water,
Which has happened.
which has happened. I need to be able to have a deposit that covers our water, so on top of this deposit as well.
Bob?
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you guys are working inside your box, and the problem is outside your box. Simplicity often overrides good common sense and make money. As an example, 1 meter can serve 25 projects easily. Each project manager had to buy enough fire hose to get from the meter to where he needs the water. And that's his job, not yours.
That only works. Are you talking a lockdown meter? That only works if it's in the same subdivision. If they're building in Desert Gardens and Rio de Zion,
Then have another meter
that gets expensive.
and give them pay for it.
Yeah, we're not set up for that.
And tell them, look, I'll give you 30 cents on the dollar when we're done, get it in good shape, you're buying this one. That's what they said to me, so that's not answered that.
Crystal, what do you recommend? $2,500 deposit?
I recommend the $2,000 deposit for the meter, and then if they bring it back and it's ineligible to be read, we need to have them held responsible for some kind of water usage, either a $500 or $1,000 water usage if I'm unable to read water.
Maybe what we do is next month, bring a resolution back that outlines everything that we would
Well,
like on
this
it.
is what this discussion is to get that resolution.
Get the
To get that
information ready
resolution, yeah.
for the resolution. I'm a big believer in high-end deterrent. If the cost is way high, that contractor is going to pay a little bit more attention to
Yeah.
how they take care of their
I
meter.
like the higher deposit. I like the orange color.
Me too.
And we need to figure out, reading at a month and you get the 1 warning and after that, they lose their meter. We do need to figure out a cap on that, on the water.
I think $2,000 and the orange color, but we need to have them also make a deposit for water. Maybe $500. Or do you think it needs to be
I
more
like
than that?
1,000. I think it should be 1,000.
More. $500 is not a whole lot of water.
So $1,000?
It's a lot of water.
$1,000?
I think that's good reasonable. Then they're out $3,000 if they bring that meter back and it's not being able to get read.
Okay.
And then when we bring back the resolution next month, the developers can come in and tell us why we shouldn't pass it.
It's a big frustration, and it's not just with us, but all the other towns are having this issue.
there's so much crossover too.
This
Like
is
we've
why
got,
Springdale and St. George has changed to these newer upgraded meters, better tracking, better monitoring.
And I think any meter we buy needs to be the new and upgraded one.
there's so much crossover between towns and county and all the rest of that too. So we've got the projects that are going on at Dalton Wash in the county that are nothing to do with Virgin. They have agreements with the Water Conservancy to pull water from our meters. So even if we haven't painted orange, I'll drive by in the morning, there'll be a red one, there'll be a pink one, there'll be different colored ones on there. And all I do is go up and question, okay, who are you guys with? But they're yanking a lot of water and they pay for it, but it's really hard to monitor because of our gateway up to Kolob and Dalton Wash and all that.
I did get that meter back yesterday. It was 750,000 gallons.
Nice.
Redirect. Little-
Mrs. Polk?
I just have a clarification. Do we know how much money we use?
We don't. It's a pass-through charge. Now the water and I recently, just for general information, I talked to one of Gil Almquist with the commission, with the county commission. They were talking about how all this water goes down the Virgin River, and we are entitled to most of it, but there's a certain amount that has to remain for the chubs and the minnows and things. So every drop of water that goes past our county is water lost. And I asked him, I said, why are we using culinary water to keep dust down when you're admitting that you've got all this water going down the river that we could be using for. So.
Okay, does everyone agree? $2,000 color orange and $1,000 deposit on top of that for water usage?
Yeah,
Gene? Okay, I agree. So you want to draft that resolution? Okay. Yes, sir.
Has the area ever thought about having a meter owner association, one set of rules for all the customers and so on, and work together with all the other? Has it ever been done?
That'd be Water Conservancy's call. Water Conservancy, Washington County's Water Conservancy District would have to head that up. He's not in there anymore.
Okay, next item is closed meeting. I am not informed about any need for a closed meeting.
Attorney's not here. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, so then I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, meeting is now adjourned. Everyone coming and your comments and your help.